But we're pretty powerful. It's good stuff. It's good to see everybody here. All right. Well, I got a lot to do, so I'm going to get right into it. I want to start off with some current events real quick. Does anybody know what tomorrow is besides Monday? Any guesses? I see a lot of blank stares out there. Well, yeah, that's over today. Yeah, you guys are close, but you're a little off the mark. Tomorrow's a one-year anniversary when Israel got attacked, October 7th. So keep them, like Shane prayed, we all prayed for Israel. Make sure that we keep them in our prayers tomorrow, because we don't know what's going to happen. Terrorists love little anniversary days. So not only that, but here in America as well. So we all know, people that have been in the military all know the big dog gets knocked off the porch every now and again. Let's hope that does not happen with us, but that's tomorrow. Have you guys heard about the asteroid? Yeah, going around. Okay, be careful what you listen to. Be careful, all right? There's all kinds of Tom, Dick, and Harrys on the internet spreading interesting things. I've seen it all week, so keep that in mind. There is an asteroid, though, and it is going around the Earth. It's going to stay here till, I think, November 12th, and then it shoots off into outer space. There's a lot of reports about it that people are saying it's going to drop off little green men. It's Satan, it's the Antichrist. It just gets so bloomin' old to read. But it is here, and it is orbiting Earth. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to hit Earth, and even if it did, it's only 33 feet long. So don't worry. It's the size of an RV. It's not going to do. It may do some damage somewhere if it did, but we're not worried about that. Joe brought up to me this morning that we haven't had a moon in 7 days. I have not had time to research that. I don't know what the deal is with that, but just research stuff. That's all I'm going to say, because there's media outlets out there that love to spread nonsense. We all know that. But it would be interesting. I'm all for it. I taught on the stars and the moon last year, and I thought it was interesting. I don't know where that went or how that's going to turn out. It's definitely something from God. I love that stuff. It's great. I love it. Every time something like that happens, I'm all over it. I love it. So I'll look into that, and I look forward to talking to you about it. We'll see what's up. A couple of other things you guys mentioned with current events. October 6th through October 13th. I might pronounce this wrong, so forgive me. Sukkot, right? Somebody said it. A day commemorating when when the Jews journeyed to the desert on their way to the Promised Land, right? Remember, that's over today. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yeah, that's right. Yep. October 2nd to October 6th, which is today, that's Rosh Hashanah. That's a 2-day Jewish New Year where they feast. They don't work. I'm all about that. I'm all about not working and feasting. That'd be great to have a week like that, huh? And they listen to the shofar getting blown. I'd love to witness that. I'm sure there's some YouTube videos out there on that. I love that stuff. That's great. I'd love to compare it to our shofar girl and what the Jewish people do. So that'd be pretty cool. Oh, I doubt that. I'm sure you could. I have all the faith in the world. But once again, real quick before I get going in my message, and my message today is going to kind of be a spin-off of what Shane talked about last week, which was really good. Man, you got me going back there. That set the tone for my week, so thank you. That was awesome stuff. And it's always great to know that when you study something to come up here and talk about, when people read it in the Praying Grace book, that was awesome. I have something to say about that. So, and as well as Israel. Shane brought up Israel, and I talked a little bit about Israel. So it always kind of confirms what I'm going to talk about. It's always confirmed when I come here on a Sunday. So it's pretty amazing that happens. And believe it or not, I like to talk about my message and how and the struggles that we all go through when we write a message up here. It can be pretty different. Sometimes it can be pretty trying. This time around for me, it was pretty simple because I wrote it while I was sitting back there about 3 weeks ago. It just came to me, and I was a writing fool. So it was pretty cool. So I know it's straight from God, and it's good stuff. So that was a great idea, coming up with the praise report, Shane. Awesome idea. That motivates me too, especially when we get one of our little people involved. And he was like, "Okay, man, I'm in the spotlight now. I don't know what to say." But he overcame that, and he He said it, so that was good on him.
Was that his first time here?
I don't know if it's his first time here. Is it his first time here? Well, man, good for him. For him to speak up in front of all of us, that's good stuff, because they don't know. They don't know what's going to happen. So judging by the cover of your bulletin, if you have one, I went over several different things I was going to put on this, and this came to me last minute. And we got a new copy machine at work, and it is ridiculously complicated. And it's one of those things where you need a degree from MIT to operate this thing. And I struggled with that blooming thing yesterday so much. But I got it done. But there's some mistakes. I'm not going to point them out to you on the bulletin. You guys will probably see it. But what it says there on the front cover, you are close. What does that make you feel like when you hear you're close? You're close to going home. Does that make you uncomfortable? Does that make you super comfortable? And are you happy about that? I mean, it should. You should be pretty stoked about the latter, right? Just think of all the people that are up there that we all know that we get to see again. How cool is that going to be? That's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Some people it makes them nervous though, because I was at work yesterday and I was hoping Saturday'd be pretty dead and there'd be nobody there so I could utilize technically government property for my own personal benefit. And I did, but I walked through with one of these in my hand. I walked through the patrol room with one of these in my hand. And one of the guys saw it and he said, "Hey man, can I ask you a personal question?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything." And he said, "What church do you go to?" And I said, "I go to New Hope Christian Fellowship over on Via, 1760 East Via Drive, behind Safeway." And it sparked an interest in him. He's not here this morning, but it sparked, because he has a church he goes to, but it sparked an interest in him. And all I was doing was walking through a room with one of these in my hand to go make copies. That's it. That's all it takes. It's something very, very small, but it kind of planted a seed in him. And he's kind of a new guy. He hasn't been there for more than 6 months. So it was really awesome to engage with him. And I was kind of trying to get out of there yesterday because he saw me. After I did it, he saw me and then asked me about where I go to church. And I just felt the Holy Spirit come over me and go, "Hey, go have a conversation with him." And of course I did that. So it was really good. I don't know what he's thinking or going through his head, but I know this: if I would have said, "Hey, be there tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I'm speaking," he would have probably came here. I am on social media. Everybody here's on social media, I assume, some kind of social media. Facebook is the big one. Good. I like to see head shake and no, because it gets old reading people's opinions sometimes. And it can get out of control. But I stay in touch with a lot of people on that platform, and I'm on it. I'm not on it all the time, but I'm on it occasionally. And I'm on it to reach out to people. There's people all across the United States that I'm friends with, and there's people in other countries that I'm friends with, and I have 780 contacts right now. And I think before I said this, maybe last year when I was here, I send out an invitation to 780 some people, "Hey, I'm going to be here," which is kind of interesting because you think, wow, if they all showed up, we'd have a problem. But those are good problems, right? I would love to have that problem. That'd be cool. We'll get a chainsaw, we'll take out this wall on a Saturday, and we'll make it happen. But what reality is, and I'm not saying this to be negative, reality is there may have been 4 people that asked me about it out of 780. There may have been 4. And I don't take that personal. It's not for me to take personal. It's just where we are in the world today. And those 4 people that asked me about it were mostly you guys. So you guys are family. I appreciate that. I need you to keep me in your prayers. I have a trip coming up, and I'm taking my daughter with me back east, and we're going to go back for Christmas. When I went back there recently, I think I told you all about it. I went back for a wedding, so there wasn't a whole lot of time for me to do what I needed to do. And I really ministered to my mom, and she is a tough human being. So I'm going to be ministering to my nieces and nephews and my 2 sisters and their husbands, and it's going to be tough. They're a tough group, but it's okay. Like I tell people here going through things, the tougher the better as far as I'm concerned. I love the test, bring it on. You can fling mud and rotten vegetables at me. I'm just going to smile and absorb it in because I'm just making deposits in my real retirement. So that's how you got to look at it. But enough of that. So let me get going here. We're in some strange times right now, and we have to stay alert. We're commanded to stay alert. Wayne, we're going to put the first one up there, Mark 13:33. You're going to hear me talk about staying alert and keeping your head on swivel. You've heard me say that before here. That's a really common saying that we have where I work and what I've done throughout my life. It's always been stay alert and pay attention to what you got going on. I lived in Kosovo for a little while. I think most of you know where Kosovo is. If you go to Italy, take a right across the sea. Kosovo is kind of situated in the Balkan Mountains. I'm going to share some things that I went through over there about staying alert. So one of the rules we had about staying alert over there with the team of people that I worked with was you couldn't have anything in your right hand at any time unless it was a weapon. So if you had something in your hand when you were walking around the office or the streets and one of your teammates saw you, you had to buy the whole team drinks at the bar. And it got old fast. So you learned, and then they PT'd you to death, PT physical training. You'd run miles if you had something in your hand. So they took it kind of serious. So Mark 13:33, take ye heed, watch and pray, for ye know not when the time is. Wayne, you weren't kidding when you said you were going old school King James. Okay. Maybe we should take a whole week and just talk like this all the time to everybody. That'd be kind of funny. So pay attention to what's going on. Be on guard. Stay constantly alert and pray, for you do not know when the appointed time will come. We don't know that. We sure are close, so aren't we? All you got to do is watch the news at 6 o'clock one night a week. Do it on a Friday or a Saturday. Man, I'll tell you what, stand by. It is getting strange out there. And I see it here. And I mean, we're in this little tiny town of Cottonwood, but I'm here to tell you weird stuff goes on here. And I see people, I see times changing. A homework assignment that I have for you is, if you want a short homework assignment this week, read Mark 13. I don't know why this got thrown into the mix with me yesterday, and I'm supposed to tell somebody here. I don't know who it is for, but it would be really cool if you guys read Mark 13. It's not a long chapter. You could practically do it in the morning. It takes 2 minutes. It's a short chapter, but it's filled with really good stuff. I don't want to spoil the surprise. So I'm interested to know what you think about it. If you get something on Mark 13, we have these little forms now. And people are filling them out, which is really good. I don't know where they are. They're little forms that you can write there you go. Kind of like what you'd like to see here. I love those. A lot of people don't like them. I like them because I like to gauge, hey, what do we got to do? And it could be anything. It could be worship. It could be, hey, what do you want to hear more of, you know? We're in some interesting times, so there's been some folks with an interest in end times. Who can give me a quick definition of what a Christian is? Anybody want to take a stab in the dark at it? No? Okay, I have a definition I'm going to read to you. Kind of getting back to basics here. A person who believes in Jesus Christ and follows his teachings. You also need to have a relationship with him as well. I know plenty of people, and you've heard me say it before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record up here, but I have friends that are believers. They say they're believers, but they're really not. They're not believers. They say they are, but they aren't. It's very interesting. And as a matter of fact, I had breakfast. I know he's not going to watch this, so I can say this. He was wearing a GCU shirt to breakfast this week. I have breakfast with him once a week. I don't know why God keeps putting him on my to-do list, but I like it. And he's an easy one because I can say whatever I want to him. I can blast him, and he'll take it. But he's wearing a GCU shirt, and I see it as he's walking up to me in the parking lot at the restaurant. I'm like, who gave you permission to wear that? You don't rate that shirt. So fortunately for me, he thought it was funny, so it was good. But I love giving him a hard time. Yes, ma'am.
What is a GC?
Grand Canyon University. Yeah, Grand Canyon University, Christian college down in Phoenix. He got a scholarship there to play baseball and was picked up by the pros. But good guy. He's a Christian. He's the number one dude that gets both barrels from me. So I enjoy doing that to him. Maybe that's why God's got him in my life. I don't know. All right, question for the ladies. Relationship-wise, if your husband, you're married to a man and he's gone and he's out, he's in the mountains, or he's with his buddies and he doesn't text you, he doesn't call you, and then when he comes home, he goes to work. He doesn't text you or call you or communicate. He basically comes home, takes a shower, eats whatever you make him, and maybe it's not your job to make him anything. And then he's gone. How's that going to work? Is that relationship going to work? No, that's not going to work. It's not going to work at all, is it? He's absent. God looks at us the same way. We have to have that relationship with him. If we blow him off and we no-show him on a date, or we do something weird and we don't repent, how is he going to treat us when we get to the narrow gate? You know, that's going to be tough, isn't it? It's going to be a tough day for some people. I want on the other side of that. I don't want to have to receive anything other than the statement of, well done, good and faithful servant. And I don't even rate to hear that. I have a different belief in that. But anyway, let me move on. Can't afford to be mundane right now. We're lackadaisical. We're lukewarm. We have got to be on point. If you are a professing Christian, you have got to be paying attention to what's going on in the world right now. Look what happened last year to Israel. I'm not diming them out. They're a formidable force. They're a tiny country, and right now they are, can you imagine living there? Every 5 minutes hearing the sirens going off and the Iron Dome taking care of missile after missile after missile. It's constant. It is constant. And they're hanging in there. They've been hanging in there for a year, and now they've got other countries coming at them, and that's biblical. That is, we read in Revelation, and if you haven't read it yet, I strongly urge you to read that book and see what's going on, because it is point for point right now. It is going on. The enemy is counting on you to be lackadaisical. There's plenty of spiritually dead people out there that we need to try and reach them, but we need to reach them gently. I use my friends and family a lot up here, and I just throw it out there, and it's the truth. It is what it is, and I talk about it all the time, but I see people every day at my job, and I'll tell you what, there's two ways I do this, and when I'm on point and I'm paying attention and I share my time with the Father in the morning, he has gifted me with running into people, and you won't know I'm a law enforcement guy. If you see me out in town, I dress in business attire. I look different than most people in this town, but I don't, very rarely do I have a badge on. You can't see a weapon on me, and so you can't really tell, and I don't want the attention, and personally, I don't want to walk into a store and not be paying attention and not have my head on swivel, and then all of a sudden I'm surprised by something. So, but I can read people really, really well. And I read a guy last week who commented on the way I was dressed going into Safeway, but he was not a nice guy. He was a very evil person, and he was looking for something different than what he thought he was going to get from me, but he didn't. So what I'm saying is, pay attention to people around town. Watch how people act. Watch how people are around you. When you're standing in a line somewhere and there's plenty of lines, watch people. Look at Chipotle. That's a really good place. Somebody told me I say Chipotle wrong. I was told to say it Chipotle. Is that right or wrong? Okay, that's right. I said Chipotle. I don't know how I said it, but anyway, I say it wrong. But anyway, my point is, they're open now. And by the way, Laura, thank you so much for dropping that food off. That was awesome. What a blessing. Thank you. There's a line there. If you go to the line, and I've had friends wait in line, and they said they were waiting 45 minutes, that's an opportunity for you. Read people in the store. If you're at a red light, I love reading bumper stickers, especially now. You want to know the person in front of you? Read a bumper sticker. I used to teach a class on walking through parking lots, and for a safe place to go, if you're being pursued or you get attacked by somebody, a safe car to get to, just by reading bumper stickers real quick. You can tell which car has a weapon in it, which car doesn't, who you're voting for, how many children they have. I love the little stickers in the windshield. That's your gate. It's your gate. That means you live in a gated community, and the camera reads your little barcode, and you get in. And I'm like, please take all that off your car, because you don't want people to read you. But anyway, again, it's about staying alert out there. Luke 12:54 through 56. Let's see. Okay. We're going to go old school here, so bear with me. And he said also to the people, when you see a cloud rise out of the west, stand by. There we go. And he said also to the people, when you see a cloud rise out of the west, straightway ye say, there cometh a shower, and so it is. And when ye see the south wind blow, ye say, there will be heat, and it cometh to pass. Ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky and of the earth, but how is it that you don't discern this time? Wow, what a wake-up call that is. So we take for granted the weather, right? We know when it's fall, it's going to be fall. This week it's going to be cold. I think next Saturday it's only going to be 80 degrees. That's awesome. I can't wait. I am done sick of summer. But we see that. We see that coming. We can tell when it's going on, right? You drive up Oak Creek Canyon, you see all the red and yellow leaves. My daughter and I took a hike last week up into the mountains. We're doing it again today, this afternoon. And we see the yellow and red leaves. We know that seasons are changing, right? But we're not paying attention to what's going on in the world. Got to pay attention. We do, as Christians, we pay attention to that, or we should be. Look what's going on overseas right now. Man, there are so many places you don't want to be. Got to be careful of that. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. I might have this one here, but I've had to use this verse a couple of times this week. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. I have a couple of friends that reached out to me. One is a mom. She lives on the other side of the hill. She's got a 17-year-old daughter who does not want to live with her anymore, wants to go. And she called me for advice. And I said, well, I don't have a 17-year-old daughter, but I've dealt with kids, troubled youth for 30 years. Do what you got to do. Let her go. And it got ugly between the two of them. And she asked me, hey, I know you're a spiritual guy and you have Jesus, so why is this going on with me? Here's a verse that you can give somebody that may be asking, why are they going through a specific thing right now? I have friends, we all do, we all have friends that go to this church. They're not here right now, and most of them are struggling with some kind of medical issue. Keep them in your prayers. But this is a good verse. Don't lean on your own understanding because God's got this. God has it. Don't fall for that. Oh, why are the times so tough? Why are they so bad? Why are we going through what we're going through right now? God's got it. He knows what he's doing. There's 8,000 promises in the Bible, and he hasn't faltered on one yet. Why is he going to start now? He isn't going to. It's not our will, it's his will. That's what I have to ask myself all the time. Every time I run into some challenging human during the week, God's will, not my will. And Donna's son-in-law said it best to me when they were here visiting a few months back. God's people. God's people. That's all I need to know. And that has stuck with me. God's people, Jeff. And I'm like, wow, man, that just totally turned around the way I look at something. And it gives me spiritual goosebumps. I love that. We're going to meet them next door here. It's great. Revelation 2:7, Wayne. He who has an ear, I'm just going to abbreviate this. It's getting hard to read the ye's. He who has an ear. Somebody asked on one of those forms, so it's your fault. Somebody asked, hey, we want to read from the old Bible. We want the old hymns. So, yeah, stand by. You never know when it's coming. You got to adjust those hearing aids. Thank you for the clap in the morning. Yeah, that's good. You're awake now. So if you have an ear, let him hear. If he doesn't have an ear, then it's time to move on. I think of this, I don't know if Shane said this last week, but I think of this, it came to me. I don't know if I saw it. I watch a lot of podcasts with Christian pastors. And it was either Shane or one of those guys. And they gave an analogy of Jesus walking through the crowds. And I always used to think, I know he knows what every single person is thinking at any one time. And I wonder what it was like for him to walk through the crowd and feel a hardened heart to the point where he would say, I'm just going to keep moving. I'm not going to reach out. He didn't have time. He had to go. He was in the middle of something. One of those times was when he was about to be abducted and attacked, and he mingled into the crowd and disappeared. Super awesome story. Super awesome scriptures. But imagine walking through the crowd. Can you imagine if you had that power to walk in here and feel somebody's hardened heart? Wow, I don't know that I'd want to do that. I don't know if I want to feel that. You know, that would be tough. Tough stuff. We need to have friends and family, and we need to have more Christians that are taking the Lord seriously. Because like I said, and like the front page of your bulletin says, we're getting close. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, we've got that one up? Okay. Philippians, I don't think I gave you this one, Wayne. Philippians 3:14. I'm just going to read it because I think I forgot that one on the list. Press on towards the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Jesus Christ. Shane, you shared this one last week. It is almost like a contest. You have got to maintain, and you have got to push, and you have got to try. This isn't something that you get to just sit and let God work it in you. You've got to reach out. You've got to make the move, okay? You can't just sit and expect, well, God's going to take care of this. God's going to, yeah, He's going to work your problems out, but you got to do something. You can't be that lukewarm lump on a log thinking, well, why isn't anything working? And I have a friend like that too. And I had to tell this person this week, kind of not harshly, it was in a text message. I didn't capitalize all my words, so it wasn't too bad, but maybe it's you. Maybe you're the one that's having the issue. And it sounds a lot to me like you're having a pity party for yourself. Bill Voss used to tell me that all the time. He'd tell it to me, but he'd also tell me, because I'd see him back here, and I could tell something was off. And I'd go up to him while we were worshiping, and I'd grab him by the arm and say, hey, man, are you all right? And he goes, yeah, I'm just busy having a pity party for myself. But he'd snap out of it way faster than I could, because if I get in the mud with myself, I'll go to town going negative. I come out of it, but not as fast as he did. He had a gift of snapping out of that pretty fast. We're all going through battles right now. I don't care who you are. We all go through battles. I went through a couple last week with my job, and my little fan club in the back is here, so I have to keep this rated Disney. I shouldn't even say Disney these days, but I got to keep it rated G. From what I see this week, I got caught up on everything, but in this little town, I think I've said it before, I work ICAC cases, Internet Crimes Against Children, so I dove into the 10 of those cases that I have in this little town. So, and I know I'm getting prayed for, and I appreciate each and every one of you praying for me, and I know Gene is a huge prayer warrior as well as everybody else in the prayer rooms. That covers me. I'm covered, and I had to watch quite a bit of that this week, and I left work thinking, wow, I'm unaffected. And it's really funny because some of the patrol guys, we do this in a specific office, and some of the patrol guys came in, and I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm in this office, and it's a specific office where this happens, where we have to look at this. And they turn around and they get out of Dodge like, I've got leprosy. And I feel I feel those prayers coming, and I appreciate those. Those are awesome, and I'm unaffected by it. And then, I turn it around a different way, and I get to hunt. I get to hunt evil guys, evil dudes, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get on my soapbox here, but it's a lot of fun doing that. So, anyway, thank you for your prayers. They are going a long way. Going back to your battles, where every single person in here is going through a battle right now. You may have life great. I go through my daily battles, and some are big, some are small. Some of the small ones are scheduling. Like today, I've got my daughter here, and her mom and I have a great relationship, a great co-parenting relationship, and she'll call me and go, hey, what are you doing Sunday? Well, nothing. I'm coming here, and then whatever, no plans. And it works awesome for my daughter. So, but that's probably one of my biggest battles is scheduling, because this week is fall break, and I'm like, these children, I said it this morning, they don't need a fall break. So we've got some half days in there, some days off during the week, so we're balancing out that schedule. So that's a little battle for me. But it's no different than what battles you guys are going through. Jean's going through a big battle right now. She's not here today. I talk with Jean once a week just to check in with her, make sure she's good to go. And as long as I hear her laugh, I know she's okay. And that's what I'm after. It's more for me than it is for her. If I get on the phone with her and I don't hear her laugh or do her little Jean giggle, something's up. So, but Steve, you know what I'm talking about. But our battles are different, and it's okay. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Keeping Wayne busy back there today. Whether therefore you eat or drink, whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. Remember that. If you're doing something you don't like to do, If you're in a job you don't like to do, you're there for a reason. I got news for you. You're there for a reason. God's got you there. Start asking him why he's got you there and do it like you work for him. Okay? That will help whatever it is you're going through. Whatever it is you do. If you're at the food bank, prayer rooms, I'm preaching to the choir here per se, do it like you are standing next to Jesus himself and he is evaluating you. You can't fail doing that, no matter what. Even if you're praying for someone, do it like you're doing it for Jesus. Matthew 5:14. This is a tough one for some of us. I'm not saying it's tough for anybody in this room. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. There's a reason you're a Christian. There's things that go on at work for me. I did a search warrant with the SWAT team this past week. Very interesting. I work as I don't like the term sniper, but that's what I am, and I work with a team, and we're all old dudes, so it's awesome. All the guys are my age, and they're all really good, and they're fun to be around, and they're all mature, and I'm not saying the other guys aren't. They're not, but we are. Anyway, I had to sit through a briefing, and it was a pretty high value targets over in Camp Verde. They committed a homicide there, and they were all home at the same time, so we hit them while we were there. So anyway, long story short, during the briefing, you do a brief and then you do a debrief, and you talk about everything you did and what you saw that might not work and what's wrong and blah, blah, blah. So guys are paying attention to me because they know what I do. They know I'm a Christian. And you get a room of 30 people, and we have women on our team too, which is really awesome, and they're all paying attention to you. Like, okay, what's the Christian dude going to say? Be careful when you're at the, you know how they call it, the water cooler at work, and you're talking. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people where I work. It's a pretty big building, and people get talking. They take that 10 minutes and they get talking, and be careful where that conversation goes. You know, remember, you're a city on a hill. You cannot be hid. So your behavior is being, whether you think so or not, your behavior is being monitored. All right? And nothing may ever come of it, but just know people pay attention a lot more to you than they do the average person. So set that example. You're an ambassador for heaven. Don't forget that. I think I've talked about this before, but I'm going to hit it again because it was pretty heavy on my heart. This is, of course, I'm not going to use a name, but I love, and it's another reason why I get on social media every now and again, and I see people proclaiming the Lord. The Lord has done wondrous things for them, and they wouldn't be where they are today if it wasn't for the Lord. And they just praise him. And I see this in several different people that I'm connected with. And it goes on. It's like a cycle. I could almost set my watch to it. So I'd love to know what's going on in their life. But about once every 6 months, they do this praise thing. Hey, I couldn't have been here without the Lord, and blah, blah, blah. And then the very next weekend, there they, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going to a bar. Okay, I'm not. There they are, taking 20 photographs of themselves, intoxicated, and now you can put a movie on there, and I've seen it, and I was going to go somewhere different with this, but I have my daughter here, so it's like a Victoria's Secret catalog gone wrong, and I'm like, whoa. And just the behavior in the movie, I can't play that at home if I have my daughter. I can't. I won't. I can't do it. And here's the same person proclaiming that Christ has been in their life and saved them and blah, 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 and I'm just like, your words hold no weight whatsoever. Why are you doing this? And we need to get with those people, right? That's why we're here. It's part of our job, is to plant seeds. Don't make it complicated. Luke 6:46. Bear with me because I have no idea why I wrote this one down. So I'm going to kind of wing this. That's some of the fun being up here. And why you call me Lord, Lord, and not do the things that I say. Man, that's a tough one. The Apostle Paul went through this. I don't know what verse it is. I don't know the address, but he actually says it's in the Bible where he says, I have no idea, something to the effect of, and if you know the verse, shout it out to me. He says, I follow the Lord, but I have no control over my flesh, and I do things and I can't understand why I do them. I've been there. I've been there. I've done really stupid things. I'm not going to get into them, but if you want to come up and ask me later, I'll tell you. I'm sure I can think of a half a dozen. And it's like, why don't you do the things I say? It's simple. I don't want to be asked that question face to face with him. Revelation 3:15. I know your works, that you're neither cold nor hot. And I don't even know how to read this last sentence, Wayne. Thou wert cold or hot? Okay, I wish you were cold or hot. I guess that's what it's going to say. Wow, this is a challenge today. Wert. I'm using that word in a report this week. Anyway, you can't be one or the other. We need to be hot. We can't be lukewarm. What does it say Jesus is going to do with us if we're lukewarm? He'll spit us out of his mouth, right? Some versions say vomit. They get hardcore. Vomit you out of my mouth. All right, I don't want to be lukewarm. I love it when I'm posed with, I think I've got a handle on it now, but if I'm posed with a question during the week by somebody and they ask me a scriptural type question, or hey, what would you do as a Christian man in this situation? And I love that. Especially love it when I'm in a public place and people are listening, like a restaurant. I love that. It's good stuff. Bring it on. You have to remember there's a lot of people out there that proclaim that they're a Christian, but they're not. They don't have the relationship with Jesus Christ, and it's going to be bad for them someday. How many people here have hobbies? I'm kind of going fast here. I have hobbies too. I just got into, I'm kind of like riding this bike with training wheels. This is how I'm going to explain it with you. I like archery, and I don't get drawn very much. I don't know what happened with me in Game and Fish, but I don't get drawn to hunt very much anymore. But I love to shoot my bow, and I shoot a compound bow. But I'm trying to switch over and get rid of my compound bow and go to traditional, where there's no wheels or cams or cables. It's a string and a stick, and it's very, very difficult. So I don't have a picture of it, but I embedded, believe it or not, I shot an arrow with my old bow. It's a 1956 Fred Bear recurve bow. And I buried an arrow in my garden block wall in my backyard. I mean, it went in. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I missed my target, but it went in the wall. So there's $12. An arrow's $12, roughly $12, depending on what kind of, if you get a carbon fiber arrow. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. And I just sat there and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done for the day. So I'm trying to take the training wheels off on that, but it's a hobby. And I got to be careful of that hobby. I like to watch the Cardinals. You guys know that. I talk about it. I haven't watched in a couple of weeks. They lost a few weeks ago, but I'm careful on that. What I do is, I'm not saying this to make anybody feel guilty, but bring God into your hobbies. Bring Jesus into your hobbies. Don't let those hobbies outweigh your time with the Father. Okay, that's tough to do sometimes. I look at my job as a hobby, and I have to be careful because I really get into my job. And I go 12, 14-hour days like it's nothing. I got to be careful of that. I always try to involve him in the process. You know, if I make a bad shot or I really stink that day and I have no business even owning a bow or any archery equipment, I got to bring God into it, right? So just make sure you bring him with you. Bring him with you. When I usually eat alone. I live alone. If I have my daughter with me, she eats with me, of course, but I started doing this because I saw a friend do it and I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world. I pull a chair out. And that's a chair for Jesus. That's a chair for God. I love when I don't know, don't ask me. It's just cool. I love doing that. It's just a cool thing I do, and I love doing that. Just invite him. You don't want him to meet you someday and say, why didn't you invite me? Why didn't you ask me to go to dinner? 1 Peter 5:8-9. Man, I love you, Wayne, but I'm reading from my notes on this one. That's a lot of reading. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same sufferings are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. This is a huge scripture, okay? Right now, the devil's walking around like a lion, right? Even more than we know. Even like, turn the clock back 20 years, okay? It's different now. It's almost normal for this kind of behavior to be in daily business. But there's a couple of key words I want to go over. Be sober. What does that mean? Be sober. Pay attention, right? Pay attention. Be vigilant. You got to pay attention to what's going on in this world around you. If somebody comes up and starts talking to you over there, be friendly, be nice, help them. But why are they talking to you? Ladies, you have a lot more problems with this than I do, right? Be careful. Try to read into people. See what they're doing. Be vigilant. Be vigilant on the times. Seeking whom he may devour. He's just looking for enemies. He's looking for victims, not enemies. We are the enemy. Resist him. It's a command. He's not asking. He's telling you. Resist him. If you're at home and you have issues and problems on the computer, resist it. Okay? Steadfast in the faith. The last thing I love that is put into this verse is your fellow Christians, your brothers and your sisters are going through the same thing. You are not alone. Whatever problems you're going through, somebody else has either gone through them or still is. So remember that. That's always helped me. If I'm going through a battle with something, I always remember somebody else has already done this and gone through it. That helps me a lot. So remember that. You're not alone. Matthew 26:41. Watch and pray lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. I say it all the time. Like I said, pay attention to what's going on around you. Don't be complacent. Don't trust yourself. I've been in situations years and years ago in an undercover situation, and I was wired up, and that wire broke, so they couldn't hear anything that was going on. I'm in a house alone, not here in Phoenix. I can't remember what I was doing, but I remember thinking I would take it to the next level if I would do anything to get my job done. And there were a couple of times where I got tempted to do some crazy stuff to get done what I needed to get done, and I'm glad I didn't do it because it would have been pretty bad in the long run. So it can be tough. So you've got to pay attention. And yeah, I go in there as a Christian man, but I'm telling you, I've had severe temptation come over me more than once, and it's like, wow, I focus more on where is this coming from? I know where it's coming from. It's coming from the enemy, but it's strong. And it's like, wow, that's a pretty good effort there. But I leave it and I walk away. So it's really good to have an accountability partner if you're in that situation. Don't be complacent. So a long time ago, like I said, I was, and you would think I knew better when this happened, but I didn't apparently. I lived in Kosovo, and I lived there right after we bombed the Serbian people. Are you guys familiar with how that all happened? Serbia invaded Kosovo. They were ethnically cleansing Albanian people. So it was kind of like not as bad as when it happened back in the 40s with the Jewish people. But it was pretty bad. They were lining people up and executing people, and they wouldn't even take the time to bury them. They just throw them in a river. So you could literally, in the town I was stationed in, I was in central Kosovo in a town called Klina, and I didn't know it, but when I got dropped off there, it was the strongest guerrilla concentration of Albanian fighters. And I'm like, I'm a dead man. I got dropped off at like 5 at night. It was dark, and I'm like, that's it. I'm alone. And I got to find a place to stay for the night. And it's not like here where you go to Motel 6. The town is shut down, it's bombed, there's tanks in the road, houses are blown up, there's stuff on fire. It's crazy. And I remember thinking, it's a Friday night, 5 o'clock, I'm supposed to be at Botch eating pizza and maybe drinking a beer. What am I doing here? So anyway, I was stationed in the first place in a little town called Klina. Albanians pronounce it clean. And I met a high school senior boy. And he said, hey, are you looking for a place to live? And I'm like, yep. And I obviously never met him. And he took me to his family's compound. Everybody there lives on a compound. It's a walled compound, just like back in the day. And your whole family lives there. Your mom, your dad, uncles, aunts, everybody. The whole family tree's on the property. I don't know if that'd be good or bad, but it was good here. So I lived there for 3 months. But I moved to the capital in Pristina, and I did a different job there. And I remember I was walking up this set of stairs, kind of like stadium stairs, concrete, and I lived in a place, I rented a house on Embassy Row. It was the safest place to be. My house was off the road. I used to have a picture of it. It was about 20, 30 feet off the road, so they couldn't car bomb me. If they were going to throw a grenade, you have to throw it pretty far. It's a 3-pound little metal device, so you've got to be in shape to hook one of those things. So I was pretty safe, and I was in between the Swiss embassy and the German embassy, and it was awesome because the Germans, they're armed up. They're ready for battle 24/7. So I felt super safe. And no bad guys ever drove down the road because they had a tank on one end and a tank on the other. So if you didn't belong there, it was great. So I became complacent in my neighborhood. And I was walking home from work one day. I didn't have a car at the time, and I was walking home, and I'm walking up these stairs. And it's got probably 60 to 100 people on these stairs. People are coming and going. And I remember seeing one guy in the crowd, and he's probably from here to the wall, and he's staring at me. And he has a look on his face of complete anger. And everybody behind him, and he's barefoot. That's one thing you look for. If you're about to get blown up, look for people that are barefoot and get away from them. Everybody stayed back. Nobody got close. And I didn't pick up on it because I'm in the white. I'm in my little Disneyland. I'm on my way home. I'm going to go meet my buddies. I'm in a safe neighborhood, and I was not paying attention. And this guy gets on I had a little landing I was on before you hit the next set of steps, and he unleashes on me. He's speaking Albanian, and I don't have my language assistant with me, so I don't know what he's saying, but he's mad. And so I look down this way, and everybody is 60, 80 feet behind him. So I'm like, this dude's got a car bomb, and he's going to clack it off. Clack it off meaning hit the button. And I had a backpack on, and I had, does everybody know what a submachine gun is? It's a little tiny machine gun. I had an HK MP5, and it spits out 30 rounds in about a second and a half, buried in my backpack. That was helpful. And I had a radio, and I had a little Beretta sidearm that maybe had 18 rounds in it. And I'm thinking, it's not a shoot situation because I have too many people around. So I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you this story in a minute, but I take out a knife, and he doesn't see it, and I have it in my hand, and I'm thinking the worst. And I've got to go from Christian man to, all right, am I going to meet the Lord, or am I going to do what I got to do to survive here? And he's going off, blah, 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 and he's spitting on the ground, and somewhere somebody from America did this guy wrong. And I'm wearing an American flag. That's how I stood out on my uniform. So I'm bladed off from him, standing there with my little knife, and I'm just, in English, I say to him, dude, let's go. Let's just get it on. Let's go. Let's get this over with. I got to either go home or die, so let's get this going. So somebody in the crowd spoke English, and I can hear them yelling something to me, but I can't remember what they were saying. But ultimately, he moves on. And I remember like stress and weight lifting off my shoulders. I put my knife away, I keep walking, but I was shaking. And I was in the white. I was totally, being in the white means you're in la la land. You have no concern. And I remember not paying attention. And after that, I paid attention very, very carefully. After that, I did not let anybody sneak up on me. It's no different than what we're being told and what we read in the scriptures. Pay attention to what's going on out there. Yes, ma'am.
What does being barefoot have to do? I didn't understand.
A lot of times a suicide bomber will go barefoot. It's just their belief. It's something that they feel that Allah told them to do. So if you're in a town and it's wintertime and they're running around barefoot, stand by. Something big's going to go down. There was a second time I'll share with you real quick. I don't know if I shared this one or not, but I had a really rough day on the job, and apparently it was written all over my face. And my boss said, hey, take my truck, go for a drive, breathe, take half day, and do you. But you can't just go relax in a country like that. It's impossible. And I remember going to this place called the Cherry Orchard. Did I tell this story? I think I told it to Donna, but there's some new people here. So the Cherry Orchard is in the middle of the mountains. It's awesome. It's in the Balkan Mountain Range. If you go home and you get on the computer, look up the Balkan Mountains. It's like Aspen, Colorado. It's beautiful. So I go to the Cherry Orchard, and there's destroyed tanks in there, and I'm walking through the cherry trees, and I'm in my own little world. Life's good. I'm not around people or crazy people. And I notice 3 workers running away from me up the hill. So I'm like, oh, well, now what? And one of them yells in perfect English, you're in a minefield. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I look down at my feet, and right at my feet is an anti-tank mine. And they're about this big and about this tall, and it has a little button in the middle of it. I call it a button. I don't know what it's really called. But if I'd have stepped on that, I actually kicked it. But I kicked it before he told me what it was, and they're running away. And I'm like, okay, so can you guys help me? And they're like, no, we're not helping you. They run. So I'm standing there and I can't go back or forward. I can go back, but I got to step in the exact same footprints I stepped in. Once again, there I am, not paying attention, not using my head. And fortunately, some Italian military came out, some EOD guys that blow stuff up, and we didn't speak English, but they walked right up on me, which was really cool, and they had a book. And they told me to turn to the page, turn to the picture of what's in front of me, because it was semi-buried. So I turn it to the page where I think this is the same landmine, and I give him back the book, and I'm pointing at the book. And he's speaking Italian really fast, and he's sweating. So I'm like, well, whatever it is, it can't be good. So you can communicate with people even though you don't speak the same language. So they got me back. They got me back in my same footprints and got me out of there, and then they blew that thing up. And I remember we're on top of a hill, and I'm in a kind of a building, a blown out building, and I remember the shock of that explosion in my rib cage. And if you've ever been around a really big detonation, it will rock your world. It's scary. Three things scare me: unexpected explosions, electricity, and spiders. I don't do any of them. So, but again, I tell you that story to pay attention. It's not anything different than what the scripture says. It's almost even more dangerous for us to be lackadaisical as a Christian, right? We don't want to be lackadaisical. I talked about China. Remember the underground church in China. Those people can't afford to be lackadaisical over there, carrying scripture in their pockets, owning a Bible. We take that for granted here. I know I do. I know I take that for granted, but my sole purpose for being up here today is just to tell you to stay alert. You're prayed for. I care about all of you. If you have a prayer request, come up here and get it. I'm out of time, so please come get it, seriously. If you have an idea for the church, please fill out that form. I have 2 back there that I have to get to the leadership team on Friday, and we'll make it happen. We want to bring more people here. So, and if you have questions, come and get me. I'm an open book. I try to be. And we'll go from there. So let me pray for us. Thanks.